I'm sure many of you are familiar with the 1995 Tokyo sarin gas attacks, and the cult who conducted them, Aum Shindikyo. Aum had an animation department that worked on short films that mostly served to highlight the power of their leader, Shoko Asahara. However, even the people who worked on these films will tell you that they were pretty crappy. After that whole committing the worst Japanese domestic terrorist attack of the 20th century thing though, Aum understandably declined in prominence, manpower, and resources, so they haven't exactly been churning out the hits like they used to. But, for over 20 years now, another Japanese cult has been putting out well-produced, feature-length films at an incredibly regular rate. Films so impactful and enlightening that they move their audience to tears.
He couldn't imagine he could do it. And yet, a lot of times inside of me, I feel I should do something. And it's just so incredible.
Let me take you on a guided tour of the bizarre world that is Happy Science anime. Would you believe me if I said Happy Science's first anime was directed by the same guy who'd go on to direct Clannad, Haruhi, and Nichijou? Yeah, that's right. The first anime production that Kyoto Animation led was a 1991 short film made on behalf of Happy Science, directed by Tatsuya Ishihara. Anime can be a crazy world, folks. The short, whose English title is What is Happiness?, is basically a primer on that very subject according to Happy Science's ideology. We learn that you put forth happiness into the world because those around you will be uplifted by that happiness, and in turn they'll go out and spread that happiness to others. It's a neat little concept in itself. I don't know exactly where it fits in with Happy Science's denial of Japanese war crimes or insistence that politicians are raising taxes because of quote, a Chinesing of their minds, but hey, at least the foundation here is solid. Now, beginning in 1997, Happy Science started putting out a new feature-length film every 3 years, and starting with the second of those films, every single one would be released in October, except for one that released on September 30th. If nothing else, you've got to give them credit for being able to keep a schedule. The first film tells the story of the Greek god Hermes, who Happy Science's founder, Yoho Okawa, just happens to be a reincarnation of, along with also being a reincarnation of Buddha, Jesus, and Yoda. As far as I'm able to tell, that's like the Star Wars Yoda. The one review of his book about how Stephen Hawking has an alien soul living inside him praised that book as being real-life Star Wars, so who knows? But I don't have enough info to conclude that confidently, so take it with a grain of salt. I wasn't able to dig up which studio produced Hermes, Winds of Love, but starting with Happy Science's 2000 film, it's Group TAC that's credited with production on them. TAC is a studio that put out a lot of anime, much of it being movie tie-ins to existing franchises, like a number of Street Fighter films and films of various TV anime. So it seems like they were a sort of hired gun, and Happy Science was happy to hire them. According to Justin Savakis' review of their 2009 film, The Rebirth of Buddha, for his Pile of Shame column, it was overall really well produced. There was some mediocre CG, but aside from that, he said it was pretty lavishly animated. Happy Science was putting out high-end productions on a consistent basis, creating high production value adaptations of various books written by its founder and leader, Okawa. Things changed after that 2009 film, though, because 2010 brought with it the death of Group TAC's head, and the bankruptcy filing of that studio following his death. Happy Science would continue resolutely onward, however, putting out their next film in October of 2012 right on schedule. Their website says that in 2009, their own studio, which would come to be called Happy Science Pictures, was founded as production on 2012's The Mystical Laws began. I don't know if they'd been told of TAC's precarious financial state and that the future of another film production by them would be uncertain, or if Okawa was perhaps given some heavenly insight as to TAC's fate, but either way, that collapse does seem to have been anticipated, launching the next chapter of Happy Science anime's history. Starting with The Mystical Laws, it would be Isamu Imakake who directed all of their films. Before Happy Science founded their own studio, each of the films had different directors, and Imakake had handled their 2006 film. For one reason or another, he's who they brought back once they were running the show, and since then he's moved beyond simple directorial duties to also provide character designs and chief animation direction on their films. This has all coincided with a pretty steep drop-off in his production credits elsewhere, so it seems like Happy Science might just have him there working on these films fairly continuously. Whether he's doing so out of a devotion to Happy Science's message, or simply because it's a secure paycheck is something we can't know, but it's a deeply interesting situation either way. However, an even more interesting situation is that 11 Arts, the licensing company that screened films like A Silent Voice, Maquia, and Listen the Bluebird in North America, has screened Happy Science's last 2 films in North America simultaneously to their Japanese theatrical premiere, and done so with English dubs. Generally, we've got to wait till months after the Japanese release for anime films to air over here, and certainly if they're going to be dubbed, that's the case. But Happy Science is better than just about anyone else in anime at getting their films out to a global audience simultaneously. I reached out to 11 Arts through their contact email and DM'd their official Twitter asking if they'd like to talk about their upcoming release of The Laws of the Universe Part 1 for a project on it that I was making, but they didn't reply to those requests. Understandably so, I ain't exactly Mother's Basement. Ultimately, it's just a goofy little amusement that this big anime licensing company is airing cult propaganda in theaters. Or is it? Sure, when you see Happy Science members going on about how the devil is real, that's funny stuff.
A lot of people don't know the truth is, about God and angels, the devils. They think the devil is make-believe, and he's real, and he's out to conquer the world, and that makes me sad.
But Happy Science isn't just some quirky little harmless organization. This is a group that holds and promotes far-right Japanese nationalist views. They want to beef up Japan's military and prepare for a war with China. They attempt to downplay Japan's use of comfort women during World War II, deny that the rape of Nanking ever took place. And yeah, when that denial comes in the form of their leader conducting a psychic interview with the dead spirit of the author of a book detailing those atrocities, where she says, "Nope, sorry, I was paid to lie, all that stuff is fake," it is hard not to laugh. However, this organization is fielding political candidates to act on those beliefs. I think there's a legitimate moral question to be asked here. Should 11 Arts be helping to distribute the propaganda of an organization like this? Should high-profile English voice actors like Carrie Walgren and Yuri Lowenthal be assisting in that propaganda's worldwide accessibility by agreeing to dub it? Should Wendy Lee, the English voice of Faye Valentine and Haruhi Suzumiya, be performing voice direction for them, and then speak glowingly of a film propagandizing the beliefs of a war crimes revisionists in promotional material for them? I don't fully know myself. I lean towards being a little less critical of the individual actors. Capitalism is a bitch, anime voice acting isn't too lucrative, they're getting a paycheck, and if they turned the job down, someone else would almost certainly fill it. The films don't actively spread those terrible views of Happy Science, so maybe with cursory research, they just think it's an odd positivity cult. I am more critical of 11 Arts, though. There's only so many theatrical distribution companies that handle anime. 11 Arts refusing to work with Happy Science would likely be a legitimate hindrance to them. Is that single paycheck from the organization really worth assisting them spread their message to 11 Arts? Apparently. Well, anyway, head on over to 11 Arts' website to secure your tickets today. There's still a few screenings left. I feel like this is one company whose sponsorship I'll never be able to get now. I hope that sacrifice of mine was to your benefit, and that you enjoyed the often hilarious, sometimes sobering phenomenon that is Happy Science and their anime. And so, I'll leave you with one last question, dear viewers. Would you believe it?
This story may have been fiction, but it actually dealt with quite a lot of issues that we deal with today. So it actually, as I said, that's what really surprised me.
Would you believe it?
Of course, there's a lot of truth to what they were saying, and a lot of great points. Totally worth it.
I was going to use the contact form on Happy Science Pictures' website to try and get an interview with them for this video, but Zaria yelled at me enough about how that'd be a terrible idea because they'd probably try to sue me once they saw this video if I'd baited incriminating comments out of them for it, and she was almost certainly correct to have that caution. Cults be crazy, man. You don't want to f with that. Oh wait, I can't swear. YouTube will demonetize me. You don't mess with that. I'm glad I was able to get a pretty research-heavy video out during Bring Back the Romance here, and I hope you enjoyed that. As always, a huge thank you to Psyker, MathWiz97, Jonathan Conley, Skylar Morrow, Tyler Monk, TeenShow37, Lord Liquid Bacon III, Elaine Aldfelt, David McCown, Hejort Dog, Smokeweed Sephiroth 420, JMam4747, Jedi168, Peach Plum, Chase Sutter, and everyone else supporting me on Patreon already for enabling these endeavors.